Man, what's going on, everybody? I hope everybody's having a blessed day for real. I hope y'all can hear that all right. I feel like this needs turned up a little bit more. Hopefully, you guys can hear me all right. But I'm finna watch this about sports betting, man, because this shit's ruined the game, to be honest.
All odds. The Rams as the favorites.
Yeah, that's right. Presented by FanDuel.
DraftKings, BetMGM Sportsbook.
Fanatic Sportsbook.
For most of American sports history, gambling was something the leagues want to keep as far away as possible from the games. But today, it's everywhere. The odds aren't just in casinos anymore. They're on the screen during the game, on your phone, in your group chats, and increasingly, they're part of how sports are talked about in the first place. This didn't just make sports more like a casino. It changed what sports are for.
What? Green apple looking at? Why do we have 30 percent? You're supposed to go over. You work for Vegas.
The spread of gambling didn't stop with sports. Now you can bet on elections, on interest rates, on wars, on politician deaths, on the future of entire countries. So how did we get here? For most of the 20th.
That's crazy to me. We should not be able to bet on all that shit because then you can literally make money off of doing something. So like people can bet that know something's going to happen. Oh, we know we're going to go to war here. So we can bet on it and then win a bunch of money when we bring us somewhere. Like, yeah, that shit's crazy to me that this shit's happening.
Century, gambling was treated as one of the biggest threats to sports, and for good reason. When money is tied to every single part, the question is no longer just about who won.
I'll be right.
Trust what we're watching. For a century, gambling wasn't considered fan engagement. It killed the American miracle of professional sport. In 1919, 8 members of the Chicago White Sox took a payout. Black Sox scandal broke the spell. It made the fans realize that the drama they were paying for might just be a script written by bookies. As a result, in the 1920s, Major League Baseball created a brand new position with sweeping authority. Sole members of the Chicago White Sox took a payout to tank the World Series. They didn't just lose, they sold the game. And when the Black Sox scandal broke, it broke the spell. It made the fans realize that the drama they were paying for might just be a script written by bookies. As a result, in the 1920s,
I've been wondering this shit more and more myself, for real, like all the players, but I definitely see it with refs and shit where it's definitely like, okay, it feels like the refs are trying to push the game in a certain direction. You see it all the time.
Major League
The other night when the Lakers were on a 9-game winning streak, and then the refs started right at the end of the game. The refs had a bunch of bad calls. I'm like, I wonder what the odds were tonight on the game for the Lakers to lose on a 9-game winning streak. I wonder what the odds that the Lakers would lose and everything. I wonder who made a bunch of money that night.
Baseball created a brand new position with sweeping authority over the game, the commissioner. And the man chosen for the job was federal judge Kennesaw Mountain Landis. Landis understood something fundamental about professional sports. It wasn't just about whether or not the game was actually fixed. It was about whether or not the fans believed the game was fixed. Because once fans stopped trusting the outcomes of games, all 8 White Sox simple. Being near a gambler was a death sentence for your career. Gambling was an existential threat to the game.
I think that's how it needs to be. We need to go back to when gambling wasn't involved.
Game itself. But the money was over there, lurking in the shadows. By the 1950s, the fix had moved to college hoops. This was the era of the point shave. Mobsters didn't need players to lose the game. They just need them to adjust the score, to keep it close, to win by 4 instead of 10. It was a subtle, greasy way to steal from the public and turn the locker room into a satellite office for organized crime. The pattern continued decades later. In 1978 and 1979, Boston College basketball players were recruited into another point-shaving scheme. The operation was run by mob associates than anyone in history. When it came out that he'd been betting on his own team, the leagues didn't care about his legacy. they nuked it. The punishment sent another unmistakable message. Even the greatest players in baseball history weren't bigger than the integrity of the sport. By 1992, this gambling is poison mindset became
That's
federal
how it
law.
should be.
Congress passed the Professional and Amateur Sports Protection Act, essentially making sports betting illegal in almost every corner of the country. And the leagues, they were the loudest ones cheering for it. Their logic was ironclad. If the fans think the game is rigged, the stadium will be empty.
Honestly, I think it's ruining the game. You can tell when the refs are trying to sway a game, and it really gets annoying. I think it's ruined. I just honestly, I think it's ruining the game. I personally do.
For most of the 20th century, gambling was treated as poison to sports. It was kept as far away as humanly possible. But then something changed. America didn't suddenly decide that it loved gambling again. Instead, something else developed in our culture: fantasy sports. In the 1990s and early 2000s, fantasy sports exploded online. Millions of fans started managing their teams, tracking stats, analyzing matchups, building lineups. Fantasy sports did something subtle.
See, I never did fantasy sports like that. Like, I was always an NBA fan, but I never really watched football and baseball or any other sports like that. Like, I watched motocross and shit growing up, watched the dirt bikes race and shit, but like, basketball was really my only sports, and I never did no fantasy teams and stuff like that. I don't know where, I don't see the fun in it. I watch the game for the game. I don't watch the game to bet. I don't watch the game to get my team, like watch my players and stuff. Like, I just watch the game because I enjoy the game, and I've been watching the same team since 2007 when Kobe was first going to his first or second three-peat. So I definitely don't watch the game to bet. Like, I never understand it. I got homies that bet and shit, and this shit's crazy to me. I don't understand how people find enjoyment in it.
But profound. It trained fans to think about sports the way general manager does. Players become assets, games become data. Before fantasy sports, fantasy changed that question.
That's how
that was the investment shifted to the numbers inside the game. Fantasy sports totally rewired the.
Let me know if y'all sports or jobs. Let me know if y'all think betting is ruining sports.
Brain of sports fans. A new belief started to emerge. If you knew the stats, if you knew the matchup, if you had some inside information, you could beat the system. As someone who loves and plays fantasy sports every single year, it also taught us that our knowledge of sports could be monetized. And then in the 2010s, the idea evolved into something much closer to gambling: daily fantasy sports. Companies like DraftKings and FanDuel realized they didn't need a whole season to hook you. They could do it on a single Sunday. They weren't gambling platforms, not legally. They were games of skill. It was a legal loophole you could drive a truck through. And it didn't feel like pulling a lever at a slot machine. When you did well in fantasy sports, it felt like you were just being smarter than everyone else. At the same time,
If y'all notice, I keep grabbing my back and shit. I'm just in so much pain with my back. That's why I haven't been streaming so much, because it hurts to be in my chair. I got this broken hardware in my back. I got to have a surgery on it. It should be hurting to be in my chair for real. So I grabbing on my back and shit a lot.
piece of culture was evolving. Sports video games. Games like FIFA and NBA 2K began integrating loot boxes, randomized reward systems where players spent real money for a chance at better players. Some versions even looked like slot machines. Bright lights, spinning wheels, gambling mechanics were slowly becoming intertwined. By 2010, the culture was practically begging for sports gambling. So when the legal barrier to sports gambling finally disappeared, the culture was ready. The Supreme Court finally caught up with the reality on the ground. In Murphy versus NCAA, they tossed out the federal ban on sports gambling. The wall that Landis and Congress had built was demolished. Within just a few years, sports books spread across much of the United States. Billions of dollars started flowing through the industry. Betting apps appeared on millions of phones, and the leagues that...
So what, you can't bet on college games, only NBA or only professional games? Is that what he said?
Within just a few years, sports books spread across much of the United States. Billions of dollars flowing through the industry. Betting apps appeared on millions of phones, and the leagues that once treated gambling like poison started partnering with sports books themselves. But the real shift wasn't just that sports gambling up with the reality appeared. The culture was ready. The Supreme Court finally caught up with the reality on the ground. In Murphy versus NCAA, they tossed out the federal ban on sports gambling. The wall that Landis and Congress had built was demolished. Within just a few years, sports books spread across much of the United States. Billions of dollars started flowing through the industry. Betting apps appeared on millions of phones, and the leagues that once treated gambling like poison started partnering with sports books themselves. But the real shift wasn't just that sports gambling was suddenly legal. It was that it was absolutely everywhere and impossible to escape. Once gambling moved from the back rooms to the internet to the glass boxes that we all hold in our pocket, the DNA of how we actually watch sports started to completely mutate. For 100 years, if you wanted to put...
See, that's what I was talking about. I know people that only watch sports strictly for their players and their picks. I watch sports because I enjoy watching basketball. I watch as many highlight from each game as I can, and then I watch my team, and I watch a couple other teams. But I don't get how, I just don't understand it. I watch it strictly because I enjoy the game. It doesn't seem like most people watch sports because they enjoy the game. They watch sports because they're gambling.
Put money on a sports game, you have to put in the work to actually do it. You have to find a guy or get on a plane to Vegas. 20s, there was friction. You had to look another human being in the eye. But once gambling moved to smartphones, that friction disappeared. Now it was just one tap away. If the design feels familiar, it's because it is. It's taken from the casinos and social media and mashed together into an app on our phone. You don't even need to get your bets in before the game starts because you can bet on it at any point it's playing. Live betting lets you gamble on every moment of the action. Instant deposits mean money can appear in your account in seconds. And features like same-game parlays encourage you to stack multiple bets together. The bright graphics, the constant updates, the endless opportunities to engage. But to me, the most surprising part about sports betting apps is...
Why is this shit acting blurry? Wow, got that shit on. What the fuck? My internet
isn't the technology. It's the business model that it's actually built on. Because sportsbooks aren't really...
My internet's being weird. It turned it down to the lowest quality so it would play.
Looking for people who can beat the system. They're looking for people who can't escape it. This is journalist Danny Fund, who wrote the book Everybody Loses.
I have the fiber optic fucking internet. It's usually fast as fuck 24/7, but I guess fucking shit wants to be slow. I just took my phone and shit off the Wi-Fi, so maybe that'll help.
Is on the rise of sports gambling.
The idea is let's profile people, how much you're depositing, when you're depositing, promotions you're playing. All of that stuff goes toward your profile. So we know what they're good at and stop taking those bets. But, you know, if you're a square on other sports or other styles of betting, the sky's the limit to what you can bet on.
One of the biggest misconceptions that I learned about sports gambling through the reporting of this video is that professional gamblers don't treat gambling like...
The damn is doing it again. Let me don't do 1080p. Let me do 720.
Through the reporting of this video is that professional gamblers don't treat gambling like chance, like luck. They treat it like a quantitative math problem to solve. Sports betting apps sell this really powerful idea. If you know more about sports, you can beat the system. You can make more money than other people in your life.
Sorry, y'all. I don't got YouTube Premium. I ain't paying for that shit.
Isaac Rose Berman is a professional
I gotta mute it when it goes through the ads, though.
Sports bettor who specializes in tennis. He approaches gambling less like a fan and more like a financial trader.
If you can systematically beat the sportsbook, they will kick you out. If you are able to keep betting, it means that they have deemed you to not be good at this. FanDuel and DraftKings employ very smart people.
Really? That's crazy. So I know all the homies lying. I know y'all all lying. Y'all ain't up. If you was up, They would have done kicked your ass off that platform already. They would have done banned you from all the fucking casinos like they did. They would have banned you from all the gambling platforms like they did that Mickey dude, that gambling dude, whoever he is, the tattooed dude with all the tattoos on his face that gambles all the time and has been banned from like every casino because he really be winning all the time and really be winning millions and millions of dollars. If y'all were up like that, they would be banning y'all ass.
People and pay them very large amounts of money with the sole purpose of figuring out who is good on their.
These apps aren't humanly possible. And once I learned that sportsbooks don't actually want professional gamblers, I learned something else.
It's rigged. It's rigged against y'all.
I was absolutely fascinated with sports gambling debt. You can actually sell it to a professional sports gambler so they can make money on the app themselves, because the sports apps think that the gambler associated with that account is someone who loses a lot, which gives professional gamblers a lot of room to make money before the apps realize what's actually happening. And the more you look into sports betting apps, the more it feels like the system is designed in very specific ways to produce very specific outcomes. And the idea that design shapes behavior actually applies to a lot of things.
Damn, for real? I'm sorry, y'all. This is embarrassing.
Specific outcomes. And the idea that design shapes behavior actually applies to a lot of things beyond sports gambling. Most people think shaving irritation is just normal, that razor burn, tugging, redness is just part of the deal. But like a lot of narratives we accept, it's actually a design issue. Most modern cartridge razors flex. The blades pivot, they move, they deflect mid-stroke, so the angle changes while it's touching your skin. Some hairs get cut clean, others get pulled, and instead of fixing that problem,
for real, dude,
it's touching your skin. Some hairs get cut clean, others get pulled, and instead of fixing that problem, the industry just added more blades and lubrication strips. This video sponsor, Henson Shaving, took an opposite approach. They fully support the blade so it doesn't flex, and they control the angle precisely, like aerospace machining, but for shaving. When the blade is stable, you don't need pressure. And when you don't need pressure, irritation stops being normal. I've used electric razors for years, so I was a little scared to start using an old school razor, but it was a lot easier than I expected. If you use the link in the pinned comment, Henson Shaving will give you 100 free razors, which is enough for 2 to 3 years of shaving. Thanks to Henson Shaving for supporting sports journalism.
Yeah, I might have to do that.
Now,
shit.
back to the video. Legalizing sports betting didn't automatically make people comfortable with it. Something else had to happen first. It had to be normalized. And one of the biggest forces that helped do that was sports media itself.
Download DraftKings Sportsbook app presented by FanDuel.
Brought to you by our friends at ESPN Bet.
Dude, this is the shit I get tired of. It's everywhere. I just want to watch the game. I don't want to see all this. I don't want to see 400 fucking commercials for betting apps. I just want to watch the game.
For decades, sports broadcasts avoided gambling almost entirely, but after legalization, the odds started appearing on screen. Pre-game shows began discussing point spreads, networks launched betting segments, entire shows were built around betting picks. But media companies didn't just talk about gambling, they started partnering with it. Networks launched sports books, broadcasters read gambling ads, superstars like LeBron James and commentators like Stephen A. Smith appeared in sportsbook commercials.
The idea that betting used to be something you did discreetly, like if you did it, you probably didn't want to draw attention to it among friends and family. And now your favorite columnist or podcast host or TV announcer is pushing gambling.
And while there was a massive change around the advertising of sports gambling, there was another major change as well that I noticed as a member of the sports media. The media changed how it actually talked about sports. It changed the language it used to talk about sports. Sports media began framing gambling as analysis. The spread became the line, betting odds became the market. A bet wasn't gambling. It was about finding value. Betting started to sound less like risk and a lot more like intelligence.
It's ruining the
If
game.
you knew sports, if you understood the numbers, if you studied the matchups, you could beat other people.
I think the biggest misconception is that they know ball. The misconception people have is that their sports knowledge is going to translate into betting success, right? They think they know ball and they don't, because your ball knowledge only matters if the market hasn't factored in that information.
Exactly. And then you never know what the refs got to do or something, because like it's getting ridiculous. I literally think it's ruining the game. To me personally, like I don't know what else to say about it. Like, I honestly think it's ruining the game.
Information, right? Like, you really think that your knowledge
Like,
on,
drop a comment.
the
Let me know
plays
what
that
y'all think.
Patrick Mahomes is going to
Gambling
run
is ruining
is better
sports.
than the sports books and better than the thousands of professional bettors who are doing this as their full-time job? Almost certainly not.
And of course, there was another reason why sports gambling took over sports media: money. The traditional sports media business was collapsing. Magazine revenue was disappearing. Cable television was losing millions of subscribers. Newsrooms were shrinking. And media companies were desperate, looking for new sources of income. Sportsbooks offered something very valuable for
Damn, that's getting annoying. I'm so sorry, y'all. For real.
companies. A lot.
This never happens. I
advertising.
never have.
I can
used
tell you
to
from
do this while I was streaming, dude. This is bullshit. This is pissing me the fuck off.
personal experience running this YouTube channel that sportsbooks pay far more money than other advertisers, up to 5 or 6 times more than other advertisers. But there's a catch that benefits sports media a lot more than I initially.
Damn, it's really fucking lagging this bad. Jesus Christ.
Channel that sportsbooks pay far more money than other advertisers, up to 5 or 6 times more than other advertisers. But there's a catch that benefits sports media a lot more than I initially anticipated.
All of these news outlets getting such generous commissions when you clicked on a link and signed up for a sports book. At the high point, making $500 or $600 for each person who went up and.
That's fucking ridiculous. And then they give each person like what, fucking $50 for signing up. You get $53 so you could start betting right away. Like,
per book.
You got $50, you could win up to $300 tonight.
And then for the lifetime of that customer's use on the sports book, the outlet that referred them would get between 30 and 45% of their net losses. It's such a conflict of interest because you think the guy saying here's what to bet on is looking out for you, like you're allies against the sports book. In reality, they're making all their money off your losses.
And the more people bet, the more consequences start to show up, not just in bank accounts, but in the lives of athletes themselves. Because once fans could bet on every moment of a game,
once you can bet on every part of the game, and then once the broadcasters are making money from selling you the game, and then they're also telling you what to pick, the whole system falls apart. Because once the same people that are telling you what to pick are making money off of your losses, the whole system falls apart from there out. Like there's nothing, like it needs to be banned. Like it's ridiculous.
I want Melissa to win.
Players themselves became part of the wager. The growth of sports betting is often talked about in how much money people.
I've seen some of this. This next part that he's about to talk about is where it gets fucking dark. The people that do this are fucking stupid. Getting mad at a player because they didn't get your pick is crazy. Unless they did it on purpose. Unless they're one of the players that is doing it on purpose because they know that they're winning money or somebody they know is winning money. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm saying getting mad at the average player that didn't make their pick. Like that one dude was just yelling at somebody at the Olympics. Like,
but what doesn't show up in revenue charts and in is the effect that it actually has on the lives of people, both the athletes and the sports fans. For people struggling with relationship with gambling can slowly take over their entire thousands of dollars in sports gambling debt, is a recovering addict, and now
I know I got homies that gamble way too much.
on the YouTube channel sharing his.
Some of them sports bet, some of them do the slot machines, some of them do other stuff, but some of them do all three, but some of them play cards and do that. But yeah, man, I got some homies that have lost. I got one homie that wins a lot, but I'm sure he loses a lot too. But
experiences.
When I saw sports betting, I saw it as something that I could choose to do, that if I was just good enough at this thing, if I could just figure out how to beat this game that I know I'm not supposed to beat, but if I can figure it out, I don't have to work a normal job. I can be the man want. It wasn't like sort of lose people in my life, but you know, as people would stop being friends with you or with me rather, and
The only gambling that people can actually be really good at, and this is even hard, especially without the people that know how to count cards and shit. I'm saying is the people that can get really good at playing cards and stuff like that. Those are the only people that end up really ever being the people that gamble and come out up in situations. Your average card player is not going to come up in a situation, but I'm saying there's people that are really fucking good at cards and they can go to the casino and 90% of the time they're going to leave the casino at least with the same amount that they came in with or more. They're not usually going to lose money, but with gambling on these apps and especially slot machines and shit like that, the system's rigged against you every time. I know people that have worked in the slot machine industry and shit, and it's definitely 100% rigged. Like the payouts compared to the not payouts are ridiculous.
I didn't care all that much. It just felt like, all right, well, bye. And as long as I had my coping mechanism, my gambling, it didn't really matter what was happening.
And when a bet loses, the instinct is often the same.
That's another reason I don't gamble is because I've had enough addictions in my life, and like he just said, it is doesn't matter as long as I have my coping mechanism. Well, that was drugs for me. So like I'm 4 years sober off all fucking all opiates and shit. But that's why I've never gambled. I gamble. I'll play some poker or something, you know what I mean? Or I've put a 20 in a slot machine here and there before. One night I put a 20 in a slot machine, 150 on the first spin, took it out. That was it. I didn't gamble no more with it. One night I put a 20 in, I lost the 20, and I didn't gamble no more after that. I've done that a few times where I put a 20 in and I've either won or lost, and that's it. You know what I mean? I don't put another 20 in or anything like that. But like, that's just for fun, and it's just something I would do once in a great while. Like I'm talking once in a great while. This is like maybe 5-6 times in my whole life I've ever done that.
Try to win it back as quickly as possible. This is Stephen Delaney, a truck driver who lives in Long Island, who's a sports gambling addict and now hosts an addiction podcast. His addiction reached the point where he was taking loans out on his retirement fund.
You know, just had such low self-worth, and I felt like the only way I could feel like...
I always said that an addict will throw his life away over a long period of time. A gambler will throw his life away in one night. Because a gambler will bet his kids, his wife, their house, their car, and everything in one night. A crackhead will lose their fucking shit slowly over 20 years. That's why I think gambling is one of the worst fucking addictions there is, honestly, in my opinion.
I was enough, and I had value to my family and to my children was to provide a larger income. And I felt like I could do that through gambling. And it was just this rush of a feeling of like, yeah, I knew I could do that. Moments, some self-worth where I said, I know about sports.
Early win. Code. Like a slot machine. It felt like strategy, research, roster building. For people like Steven, the bets just get bigger, the losses get harder to accept, and the cycle becomes self-reinforcing. You tell yourself you're not addicted, you're informed, and you know the sport, and you just need one more bet to get back to even. And the consequences of sports betting have been bigger on athletes than...
It just goes on and 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 on. That's how drug addicts work. But with gambling, it happens quicker, it seems like. That's why I think it's the worst addiction to have. One of the worst addictions to have.
And I anticipated it being. Lucas...
Roku's self-serve ads platform.
Giolito is an MLB veteran pitcher who has played for the Boston Red Sox, Chicago White Sox, and the Los Angeles Angels.
Gotten
we fucking go.
pitcher who has
man.
played for the Boston Red Sox, Chicago White Sox, and the Los Angeles Angels.
Man, y'all, I am so sorry about this buffer and bullshit today. Don't hold it against me. I'm not perfect.
And the Venmo requests where it's like, you owe me this amount of money. Because
This was the part I'm talking about, though. This is where it gets fucking deep, where it's like, dude, they're just athletes. They're not fucking perfect. Like I said, like I just said, I'm not fucking perfect. They're just athletes. They're not perfect. They're not gonna get your bet every time. Don't take it to them and be like, do what these people are about to do. Some of these athletes get the craziest threats over bets.
I bet this on you and you didn't finish my bet. And then I've actually received like money to my Venmo account, like small amounts where it's like,
Okay, well, you could probably do that to them. They probably will hate you if you do this.
hey, thanks, man. You have your typical, you suck, you're washed, like get off the team. Like, great, that's fine. And then it will climb to like more personal attacks, talking shit about like personal things, whether it be me, my relationships. And then it gets into more like just nasty, like go kill yourself, or I got one after my last bad outing where it was like, I hope you and your family die. That was a good one. And then on very rare occasions, you'll receive direct threats, which I've
done some really fucked up things in my life. And this shit right here, what they're talking about, is fucked up. Even I know this is fucked up.
The ones where it's like you want to take it a little bit more seriously, you'll report those up the chain.
Before the rise of sports betting apps, most fans simply rooted for their teams to win. Fans can bet on almost every moment inside a game. Strikeouts, rebounds, touches, missed shots.
It goes back to what I was saying. Like, I watch the game just for the game because I like to watch sports. I love watching the Lakers play. I will probably watch the Lakers play until the day I die. Or until there isn't Lakers anymore. You know what I mean? Like,
called prop bets, and they change something fundamental about how fans experience the game. Because when a bet loses, it's no longer just the team that lost, it's a specific player, which means athletes increasingly receive messages. Scandal is all but inevitable. In 2024, NBA player Porter was banned for life after an investigation found he had shared inside information with gamblers and manipulated his playing time to affect betting outcomes. Investigations have also touched players like...
This is what I was talking about. Players throwing games, but even what's worse is refs doing it. I think refs are 100% trying to sway certain, maybe not. I think they're trying to do it for the gambling, trying to sway certain outcomes for gambling outcomes, but I think they're doing it just for certain narratives also in the NBA. They want certain teams to be the number one seed. I mean, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. OKC, they would have a lot more losses on their thing if they didn't get all the calls they do. Like, they've been in a lot of close games, and a lot of them close games, they start getting some really fucking iffy calls down the line every time, putting them on the line more.
Like Terry Rozier and coaches like Chauncey Billups and others across professional and college sports. Major League Baseball has investigated suspicious betting patterns tied to players like Emmanuel Clase and Luis Ortiz. College sports, where athletes often earn little money and face enormous pressure, have long been vulnerable to anything new. What has changed is these leagues and players accountable. Or when NBA referee Tim Donaghy was caught betting on games,
That's what I was
sports journalism
talking about.
still had newsrooms devoted resources to digging into uncomfortable stories, and today, a lot of those resources are gone. Investigative shows like Outside the Lines and Real Sports have been scaled back.
This is where it comes back to the system being rigged again, though.
Publications like ESPN The Magazine have disappeared, and the economics of sports media have shifted towards something else: transactional coverage, breaking news. ESPN had to remove a graphic advertising its sports betting platform so that it didn't look like they were advertising sports gambling as the news of a sports gambling scandal was breaking. And all of this creates this really uncomfortable reality that almost every single major sports media outlet is financially tied to the success and the legalization of sports gambling.
The fact that so many people in sports media are walking on eggshells when they talk about gambling and don't want to say the wrong thing that's going to embarrass an advertiser that's keeping their company afloat, or embarrass the leagues for doing business with those advertisers, or make them look like hypocrites for pushing gambling and then covering, the dangers involved with gambling. And hearing a former ESPN reporter say that in effect sports media is being bribed by all that advertising.
I've been in sports media for almost 15 years now, and I have a lot of friends in this industry that feel really uncomfortable with the tension at the center of it right now. They often have to promote sports gambling on their podcasts or their shows, but they don't like the effect that it's having on the industry.
It's ruining it. I know I keep saying that, but that's all I can say is it's literally ruining the game.
And at the same time, they feel like they can't push back because the people paying and signing their checks are getting money from these sports books. And so when stories around gambling and scandals around gambling emerge, they feel like they can't be as aggressive about it as they would have been maybe 5 or 10 years ago. Because so much of the industry that is supposed to report on sports gambling and its scandals is now funded by it. It's a huge reason why I don't take sports gambling sponsorships on this channel. It's the reason why video can even exist in the first place. So if you want to support sports journalism without sports gambling sponsorships, make sure to subscribe and leave a comment and share.
I mean, that's what I would be conflicted too. Because when you're trying to get a platform going or something and you get a sponsorship, the money be nice. So if it helps your platform, and it's conflicting, but I do think it's ruining the game. I don't necessarily think podcasters advertising betting or streamers advertising betting is ruining the game, but I think betting being involved throughout the broadcasting of the game and all of that, and the broadcast pushing betting and then telling people what picks to make, but then also making money from their picks that they lose on and shit. I just think all of that in general is losing the game. I don't know about if podcasts, because I don't think people should not be allowed to bet on a game. If you want to bet on a game, I think that's cool. I think you should be allowed to do that for sure. But I don't think that it should be involved with the game so much.
With a friend. And all of this raises a lot of difficult questions, because if the incentive to gambling keeps growing, the pressure on the integrity of these leagues keeps growing too. And the expansion of gambling hasn't stopped with sports, because now there's entirely new gambling markets emerging that allow people to self. Companies like Polymarket and Kalshi call themselves something different: prediction markets. They present, which is easier to understand than sports odds. A market might ask a question like, will this candidate win an election? Will interest rates rise? Will a certain event happen before the end of the year? Prediction markets is a new source of information.
It's a market where people are trading against each other. There's no house. And the reason why people are flocking to prediction markets, especially Kalshi, is that our incentive.
The fact that we can bet on if we're going to go to war with somebody, or who's going to be elected something, or this or that, is not a good thing. We should not be able to bet on things like this, because that means somebody that knows about something coming up, let's say somebody knew that we was going to go to war in Iraq on this day, and then it's on that website and you can bet on that. You can make a lot of money from that insider knowledge of going to war. That is crazy. That should not be okay. That should not be allowed.
As a company,
I was a criminal for most of my life, and this bullshit right here should not be fucking allowed.
We win when the customers win. We don't win when the customers lose, and that's a huge difference in the model.
But when you look a little bit closer, the reality is much more complex. As crowds of ordinary users trading on ideas. But many of the biggest players in these markets aren't casual users. They're professional traders.
So what there are is there's things called market makers, which are often, either very rich people, very successful bettors, or sort of large institutions, often like your Susquehannas of the world, who basically say, okay, here's what we think the odds are, and we are going to offer bets on both sides. And they actually just function just like a sports book. Sometimes you are going to be betting against your peers or against normal people. In reality, a lot of the time, you're betting against large hedge funds.
See, you're literally betting against companies. This shit's ridiculous. This needs to be banned immediately. I don't give a fuck. Sports betting does not need to be banned. This shit right here needs to be banned.
And there's actually the pricing is never going to be the
That
same.
shit needs
The
to be
odds
banned
on a
right
sports
now,
book are
for
basically
sure.
always going to be identical to the odds on a prediction market, because if there was a significant divergence, people would just arbitrage it and bet both sides to lock in a profit. I would much rather go up against a DraftKings trader making 60 grand a year than Susquehanna on Kalshi, right? They're much better at their job. And their job is to set that they're on the opposite side of your trade. And this is a zero-sum game.
Prediction markets go way further than betting apps because these markets can be about literally anything. There's a lot of really troubling questions because if people can profit from events, the line in gambling and power starts to blur together. And prediction markets are moving quickly, partnering with celebrities, building political connections, seeking mainstream legitimacy. Even athletes have begun entering the space.
Be allowed to own parts of gambling companies. That's a complete conflict of interest, like 100%.
Holds an equity stake in Kalshi. At first glance, it looks like another celebrity endorsement, but the timing raised a lot of suspicion. For months, the NBA rumor mill had been dominated by Giannis's own future. Would he stay in Milwaukee, request a trade? Prediction something people could bet on. And as the speculation swirled, for Giannis's next team on Kalshi skyrocketed. And so when the announcement came that Giannis owns part of
I fuck with Giannis.
the backlash was enormous.
I fuck with Giannis, but players should not be able to own gambling companies.
Let's take a moment to think about how insane this is. Giannis knows if he's going to ask for a trade, he's one of the only people on earth who truly knows what's going to happen. At the same time, he's the part owner of a place where your money is being traded based on that very decision. The more chaos there is around Giannis's future, the more valuable his equity in Kalshi becomes, right or wrong. He's financially incentivized to keep the world guessing, to keep the rumors flying. And the NBA hasn't done anything about it. When asked about this at NBA All-Star Weekend, Adam Silver responded by saying,
In the case of Giannis, from what I understand, it's a minuscule investment, much smaller than 1%.
Kalshi is worth $11 billion.
I don't care if it's 1%. That's millions of dollars still.
Giannis is allowed to own up to 1% under NBA rules. 1% of Kalshi is worth $110 million.
Exactly.
Half of 1% of Kalshi is worth $55 million. Giannis is no longer just participating in the game and in the drama of the NBA.
It's
He's
bullshit.
making money
It's just
every
rigged.
single time there's more chaos and speculation around his future. And what started with
It's some bullshit for real.
You're perfect in
betting on games is now becoming way bigger.
Damn, y'all, my bad. Oh my God. For real. It's not gonna come back. Oh, there
He's
we
making
go.
money every single time there's more chaos, and started with betting on games is now becoming way bigger.
Here we go again. God damn, dude.
It's becoming a world where everything is a wager. The logic of sports betting is already spreading. During the Golden Globes broadcast, odds from the prediction market Polymarket were shown on the screen for who might win each award. And in politics, at one point, traders were betting on the exact length of a White House press briefing. When Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt ended the briefing just seconds before a key betting line,
Seriously?
press briefing. When press secretary Caroline Levitt ended the briefing just seconds before a key betting line, the market flipped instantly, prompting accusations online that someone with inside knowledge inside the White House had traded on the outcome and made money on it.
Exactly what I was
Sports
talking
proved
about.
that fans could see sports as an opportunity to constantly make money. Prediction markets are trying to make the world feel as if every single moment, every single thing that happens is an opportunity to make money. Because every single moment in a sports game now has money attached to it, fans are starting to ask different questions about.
Damn, don't keep doing this shit to me. This shit's almost over. I'm trying to make it through it. I guess this is the only stream I'm doing today because if it's going to be doing
Every single
this
moment,
shit,
single thing that happens is an opportunity to make money. Because every single moment in a sports game now has money attached to it, fans are starting to ask different questions about sports. It's not just, did my team win? It's, was that referee call real? Was that injury suspicious? Did that player leave the game early because of the score? Or was it because of a betting market? Sports have always depended on something fragile. Trust. Trust that what you see on the field is real. Trust that
stop.
Fragile because of the score. Real? Was that injury suspicious? Did that player leave the game early because of the score? Or was it because of a betting market? Sports have always depended on something fragile. Trust. Trust that what you see on the field is real. Trust that the players are competing on the field honestly. Trust that referees are calling what they see honestly. It's not always perfect, but before sports gambling, there were fewer opportunities to question this trust. And once that trust starts to erode, the meaning of these games starts to completely change. Recent polls show that fans are worried about the meaning of these games starts to completely change.
I also think just the reffing is ruining the game and the crying is ruining the game. Like, I love my Lakers, but I wish Luka and LeBron would just play basketball and stop all the crying all the time. You didn't get the call, you didn't get the call. Just play. Get back on D. I think that's another thing that's ruining the game. I mean, I'm still watching thing.
Recent polls show that fans are worried about the integrity of games and whether or not what they're seeing is real. I think that sports gambling is a bigger problem than just in sports, is because the issue isn't just about whether or not betting should exist or should be legal. It's about what happens when we make every single moment of
Sorry, y'all, I keep grabbing my bag.
Every single moment of our lives an opportunity to make money. Gambling has always been a part of sports, but something changed. Betting started living on the margins and moved to the center of the experience.
Man, we are almost done. Just fucking get through the end of it.
Always been a part of. We make every single moment of our lives an opportunity to make money. Gambling has always been a part of sports, but something changed when betting stopped living on the margins and moved to the center of the experience. And once you start thinking this way, it doesn't just stop at sports. When you start putting a price tag on everything, the way you see the world gets twisted.
Jesus Christ.
Doesn't just stop living on the margins and move to the center of the experience. And once you start thinking this way, it doesn't just stop at sports. When you start putting a price tag on everything, the way you see the world gets twisted. We stop asking, is this actually true? And start asking, what are the odds? And when the world stop asking sports, when you start putting a price tag on everything, the way you see the world gets twisted. We stop asking, is this actually true? And start asking, what are the odds? And when the world
That's it. This is pissing me off. I'm gonna let y'all go, man. I'm gonna fucking do another one later, maybe, but I don't know because the fucking internet's being fucked. But man, it's still a lot of smooth.